We've got 100,000 watts of local community radio going out, broadcasting from this station. And so we are glad that you can, we are glad that you are here, that you stopped by. I just found out that you all haven't even been hearing me. Thank you, Lo, that you all didn't even hear me on Facebook. So y'all don't know the song. The song is Down Home Blues by ZZ Hill, and we'll talk more about that. But we are grateful for you. We are grateful for all of the ways that you show up. All of the ways that you show up for us. We are especially grateful when you show up for us during Pledge Drive. But I always want to reiterate the fact that it's more than just your economic resources that we need. We need your presence. We need your thoughts. We need your feelings and your emotions, your challenges and your pushbacks, your encouragement and your compliments. We need every aspect of who you are that you can share with us. That is what keeps us going. So thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. The conversation is rooted in the song as well as the EJI tidbit for today. The song ZZ Hill's Arlen J. Hill, better known or also known as ZZ, who took his name. He was thinking about B.B. King and how B.B. King was such a role model for him, and he decided that he wanted a name like that, and so he came up with ZZ Hill. But I was thinking about this because a little while ago, Black man politician Virgil Miller sent me the mailer, the announcement about the play Me and the Devil. He was the one on the picture on the mailer, and so I was like, is you in this play? But he was just one of the marketing representatives. But that play was on my mind because he was recommending it to all of us, and I decided that I wanted to go, and I went online to get a ticket. I was having to choose my seat. In choosing my seat, I chose one seat, and then I changed my mind and I wanted a different seat. So when I went to choose the different seat, it would not unclick the first seat. So they were going to charge me for 2 seats. Well, I wasn't paying for 2 seats because I was going by myself. And so I was like, okay, it got to the point where I was a little frustrated. I get frustrated when I feel like something's trying to beat me because I'm like, you can't beat me. You're a computer. I know more than you. You can only do what I tell you to do. So I was having this whole moment. So I said, okay, I'm getting frustrated. Let me just stop. I'll come back with fresh eyes and then I'll get it done. Well, when I returned to get the ticket, they were sold out. And I'm like, what? And so I was so upset because I really wanted to see this play. And so I was reading the language carefully. And what it said was the tickets are sold out online. So I said, okay, well, maybe that means that you can get a ticket in person. So I called the number and I couldn't get through. And then I sent an email asking the question, is it possible for me to purchase a ticket in person? Because I'm really trying to see this play. So nobody wrote me back. So the last opportunity to see this play was Sunday at 3 p.m. So I decided that nothing was going to stop me from seeing this play. I wanted to see it. I don't care what the system on the computer said. I'm going to figure this out. So I said, even if I have to go up there at 3 o'clock and ask the people, can I get in? If they tell me no, like, what's the big deal? I didn't have a ticket anyway, but I'm going to try. And so I get there and all of this stuff is going on. And yes, I am able to get in because they had plenty of seats that you could, when I say plenty, I don't mean like 20. It was probably 7 seats on that back row where I was sitting. But you could get in. And as a matter of fact, not only was I able to get in by going in person and asking for a ticket, it was way cheaper than if I had bought the ticket online. And I had no problem buying the ticket online. I actually thought that's how much I was going to pay at the door because I want to support the arts. I definitely want to support Black artists in the arts. So I would have paid whatever they asked me, whatever the ticket cost was. It just so happens that it wasn't that much. But the reason it wasn't that much, it was only $15, is because I was on the very back row. I mean, like up against the wall in the back. So that's the reason why. But I could see just fine. So here I am. I'm so excited to be at this play, and it is about a blues man. Actually, I think it's patterned after the Netflix show At the Crossroads about a Black man who is a blues artist, and He has to fight through all kinds of barriers just to be the artist that he believed he was created to be. And the story goes that he sold his soul to the devil. So this is along the same lines, where at this play, this man who's a blues artist, musical vocal artist, instrumental artist, is said to have sold his soul to the devil in order to be, he wanted to be famous. He wanted to be the best known bluesman in the entire world. And so that's what he was selling his soul for, allegedly. But in the play, there's a scene where this woman is trying to hook up with him. And one of the things that she says about being at the, because he's asking her, what are you doing here? Like, why are you here? As if there's some shame around it, which many of us have heard, that there's shame around going to the juke joint. And she said, here is where I can be myself. Here is where I'm not concerned about being in this place. I'm not concerned about being judged. In this place, I'm not concerned about being shamed. In this place, I feel like I can be myself. I can just let go and express. I can move my body. I can do whatever I want to do, whatever I feel like doing. Here is one space that I can do that in. And that resonated with me because I've been thinking a lot. I'm still making my way through the book by Tracy Gidget's called Black Joy. I'm still making my way through that. And I was thinking about how much joy I felt like she could find in that place, knowing that she could be herself. So that was on my mind already from the very beginning of the play. As we make our way through the play, at the very end, and it's a long play, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, it was too long for me, but I really enjoyed it. But I did look at my watch a couple of times. But as we make our way to the very end, it's like they were gonna leave us with one more song. So okay, they did one more song, and I don't know what happened on the stage. I really don't. But after the last song that they said was the last song, they played another song, and that song was Down Home Blues. And immediately when the drummer played the first chat, when he played the first chat, it's like I don't know how the white people in the room experience the blues, and so I don't want to talk for them, but I know I felt every black person in that place when they said dun dun dun, dun, and we were like, hey! So here was this moment for me of Black joy where we all began to settle into this song and began to move to this song and sing to this song and smile at each other and just have this great time as we were preparing to leave this play. And I thought about how good it felt, first of all, just to be in that space. Oh, and in that space, I saw you, Reverend Dr. Anika Whitfield. School board member, Mr. Osiris Bali was in the place. Soulful songstress Tawana Campbell was in the house. And it's always, again, to be in the number, to see people that you know, to kick back and relax and experience joy in this place. It felt really good. As I was walking to my car, I said, I did a lot of work. I did a lot of work to get there, to get to this space. I wanted it that bad, and I did a lot of work to get there. And I thought about that when I read the EJI tidbit that I'm going to use for today. I thought about how much work that was important for me to be in this space, supporting the Black artists that I knew would be there. As a matter of fact, it was a whole Black show. The two people in charge were Black. Like it was a celebration of Blackness, which is absolutely what we do in this space. In the spirit of Sawubona, we come into this space, the spirit of oneness, and we are connected by our humanity. And we say we're going to center Blackness in the context of the human story. So Blackness was centered in that place, in the context of all that is happening around us. And as we think about our past and remember all of those things. And so I was thinking about that unity. I was thinking about that oneness. I was thinking about how much work I did. I was thinking about the support, all of that when I read this tidbit from June 9th. So this is the EJI tidbit from June 9th in 1963. On June 9th in 1963, civil rights leader Fannie Lou Hamer and other civil rights activists are arrested on false charges in Winona, Mississippi, and severely beaten while in jail. On June 9th, 1963, civil rights activist leader and other civil rights activists are arrested. Civil rights leader Fannie Lou Hamer and other civil rights activists are arrested on false charges in Winona, Mississippi, and severely beaten while in jail. I talked about Fannie Lou Hamer not too long ago. I was focusing then on the fact of how her body had been medically mistreated when she was given a vasectomy, when she was given a hysterectomy without her consent. And I was talking about that and linking that to other people who had suffered that same kind of abuse in their bodies simply because they were Black, and the system of whiteness just cannot get over wanting and needing and feeling the urge to control Black bodies in particular by any means necessary. And I brought her up, but this time I'm bringing her up because the EJI tidbit does not say this, but if you read the entire, if you have the calendar, if the calendar comes to you, not if you have the calendar, if you have the calendar, you're not going to see this. But if you have access to the emails that are sent, then you get more information about the tidbit. And one of the things that you learn from the email that they don't write in the tidbit is that while she was in jail, while they were in jail, but particularly Fannie Lou Hamer, she was beaten severely by other Black men, the Black people, I think they were men, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were men, who were forced to beat her. They did not choose to beat her. They were not excited about beating her. They were not looking forward to beating her. The language says they were forced to beat her. And so I have no judgment for these. Let me just be clear about one thing. I do not have any judgment for my ancestors. I do not look back at them and say, you shoulda, woulda, coulda, or if it were me, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. I do not do that. I cannot even begin to imagine what it's like to live under that kind of psychological trauma every single day. I cannot imagine what it was like during the era of lynching, to walk past bodies that are rotting as they are hanging from a tree, the stench that they talk about in Strange Fruit, Billie Holiday and Nina Simone. I cannot even begin to consider how that must have felt in the body and what that did to the mind. So I have no judgment for how they made it through. I have no judgment for how they endured. I have no judgment for how they persevered. You will never hear me doing anything like that. And I also feel like it is imperative for us to use the power of Sankofa to look back, to remember, to learn, and to pull what we can from those events, from those tragedies, from that dehumanization, and figure out how we can use tools today to struggle and fight and demand our freedom and our liberation. And so that's what the conversation is about around these two men. No judgment for them, but what can we do today in similar situations when the system forces us or intimidates us or makes us believe that we have to turn on each other in order to survive? And that's what I was thinking about. I was wondering what would have happened if those men who had been forced to beat Fannie Lou Hamer, and they beat her so severely that she had consequences from that beating to the day she died, and it actually contributed to her death and the damage that was done to her liver, to her kidney, to one of them. And so I was thinking about, what if they had said, no, even if they had to say, sir, no, sir, that's not what we're about to do. Well, the way I understand this history, this time in our history, they would have been killed. Like, if you don't do what the white man says to do, then you put your life on the line. And they had no qualm. They made no qualms about killing you. They would have killed you, your mama, your dad, your sister, your cousin, your child. They would not have thought twice about that. But nevertheless, what if the men said, I am not going to beat this woman for you? The woman that has not done anything to me, she has not done anything to you. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stand firm on supporting her to the point where it puts my life on the line, and I'm willing to give it up to support her because I don't believe that's what I'm called to do, and I'm not going to let you force me to do it no matter what. Like, what if that had been their mentality? They would have died. That's what would have happened to them. Well, okay. I remember John Lewis when there was an interview when they were, oh my goodness, what was the name of the documentary that centers John Lewis? I'm blanking on it. Somebody call in and tell me, 501-433-0088. John Lewis was interviewed and they were asking him the question, like, how can you keep marching? How can you keep protesting when you know that you are going to be physically assaulted, when you know that you might not live to see tomorrow, when you know that you might die on the very ground that you are marching to freedom on? How is it that you keep going? And he said these words, I saw him say it. He said, once I stopped being scared of death, that's when I became free. That is my motive. Like, I'm not worried about dying. Then when I think about Dr. King and his speech, I think this is the speech when he's talking about the mountaintop. I may not get there with you. I know that it's possible for me to die doing this work. I know that I am facing death every single day, but nevertheless, I continue because I'm not worried about dying. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF 88.3 FM. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you turn your
Yes, I just did.
Okay, thank you.
Speaking on that subject, my idea, if a man is not willing to
Caller, something happened. We can no longer hear you. Say it again.
Yeah. But I wanted to get on another stuff about the old African. I'm a conscious African person. And I'm always saying about our country. And the thing that makes our country great, you know. So we don't know anything about the things that made our country great. But my thing is, if you have so much African consciousness and so much African history in you, why are you using it because somebody else has it? You somebody is yours, but somebody else is. If you are not using anything, it's not yours, it's somebody else. So when are we going to use all this culture and learn what this is to make them great? Learn what this is to make them have meaning. This is what happens. I don't want to use somebody that is very hard and good. And that's the way I feel about it.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. I'm going to try. I don't know if you all could hear very clearly. I was having difficulty hearing, so I want to see if I can summarize what the caller was saying. He started out by saying, in the present moment, those of you who are men who are not willing to stand up and for a woman, then, you know, he's questioning what it means for you to be a man in this moment. Again, we are not judging our elders, our ancestors. We're talking about in this moment. And then he goes on to say, many of us talk about how we have this African culture, but we're not using it. Other people are using it, but we're not using it. And so what does it profit us to say that we have this culture that we are not willing to use? Like, what is the whole point of having it if you're not going to use it? And what would it take for you to begin to put it into place so that you can recognize and realize and understand and acknowledge and live into your greatness? That's what I heard the caller say. And so he puts that out there for us to consider. And then here is low. Those individuals realized that there was something bigger than themselves, and the cause for freedom comes with the price that they were willing to pay. Okay, so I mentioned Dr. King, I mentioned John Lewis, those people who put their bodies on the line. I mean, it's a whole bunch of, like, I just mentioned those two, but it's more than that. Those individuals realized that there was something bigger than themselves, and the cause for freedom comes with a price that they were willing to pay. And so that becomes the question, like, you know, how much are we willing to pay? Because I'm with the caller on this, and I'm with Lo, that there are some people who are willing to pay, but there are some people who don't want to pay. Like, something else is more important to you than the unification of a group of people that you belong to. That's your tribe, that's your community. Something else is bigger than us for you, that you will not put your body on the line. Because you, and I guess somebody was like, well, who wants to die? Well, I would say all y'all Christians, because the only way y'all can get to heaven is to die, and you're so heavenly bound that you ain't no earthly good. So I don't understand why you would be concerned about dying, because that's when you gain eternal life. Like, what, to be absent of the body is to be present with the Lord. So I don't really understand how your religion works anymore. like, because that doesn't make sense that you're scared to die, but that's the only way you're gonna get to heaven, and that's your whole goal. And so some of us are not willing to reconcile the contradictions that are in your own mind, because you're not willing to take the time to think through what it is that you believe, to think through your faith, to think through your work ethic, to think through who you work for and why you work and what you're doing with your money. Like, we're not having these seamless conversations with ourselves, first of all. So we absolutely cannot have them with someone else. And we absolutely cannot call ourselves boots on the ground, because like the caller is saying, you ain't even using what you know. It's one thing to not know, because we cannot hold you accountable for that which you do not know. But when you know, you have no excuse, and still you don't do. So what does that mean? And so I was trying to figure out what could possibly work as a turnkey. Like, is there something I could say? Is there something I can do? Is there something I can create? Is there something that we can collaborate? Like, what could we do to get people, especially people, diasporians, to look at each other and see the trauma that each of us is suffering, look at the systems that continue to perpetuate this trauma on us, and say, I shall not be complicit in this. I'm not going to keep working for a system that I know is keeping my my neighbor's child hungry. I'm not going to keep supporting an education system that I know is a pipeline to the prison industrial complex. I'm not going to, like, what could I do? And so I'm trying to figure out how to work in favor of our liberation. But I passed a sign yesterday that made me so mad I could spit. Those of you who do not know me, the one thing I think is the worst thing for me to do is to spit. Like, I just think that's nasty. I don't want to do it. It's just awful to me. Especially when you hawk, you conjure it up, and then I can't stand that. So if I say I'm so mad, I want to spit, okay, that's how mad I was. But it was a sign headed south on Barrow, and John Barrow. I took 630 west to the exit 6B. Got off and took a left, so I'm headed south on John Barrow. I'm trying to get to Canis because I need to go to the Baptist. And there's a sign as you approach the intersection of John Barrow and Canis that says it's a gun buyback program. I was moving too fast in the light chain. I didn't have time to take a picture of the sign. But I guess I could have taken it, but I was too busy reading it. And by the time I got through reading it, I didn't have time to take a picture of it. But St. Mark Baptist Church is encouraging people to turn in their guns, and they will be paid for their guns. So that I'm assuming, this is my assumption. You can tell me what you think, but this is the assumption that I'm making, that these are Black folks that you want to turn their guns in because you are concerned about the level of violence in communities that are lived in the majority population is people who are Black. And so you're concerned about the level of violence. And so the answer to that for you is to ask the Black people to turn in their guns. So that we can get the guns off the street, we can reduce the level of violence so that Black folks are not killing Black folks. That's my assumption of why they want the guns to be turned in. And then, of course, most people think that the only way you can get Black people to do something is to offer us a financial incentive. So we don't want you to just turn in your guns because we think it's the right thing for you to do, because we're trying to keep our neighborhoods safer. We know that you are motivated by money, so we'll give you some money for your gun. And so I got mad. And I started to ask the question, okay, so you don't want Black folks to have guns. Like, wait a minute. In the political climate in which we are living right now, you want Black people to turn in their guns. You don't want us to be able to defend ourselves in the midst of what goes on. Now, I hear you saying you want to reduce violence in your neighborhood, and I ain't mad at you about that. But to say that the answer is for us to give up our guns in the midst of a world that promotes violence on every turn and continues to remind us that the Black body is the least of the concerns when it comes to violence, we are not going to be able to defend ourselves with arms, because y'all gonna buy back you're gonna give us some money, as if when we get in the heat of battle, I can pull out some money and say, don't kill me, I got some money. Like you, so St. Mark Baptist Church says, no, bring us your guns and we'll give you some money. Now, if I'm not mistaken, St. Mark Baptist Church is the same church that they went to it's on 12th Street. It's the same church on 12th Street where they said, hey, they're getting ready to get rid of this this grocery store. We feel like you are in a great position as a church, as a Black church, as a community organization, as having the economic stability to be able to sustain this effort. Why don't you help? Put this grocery store. And the pastor says, whoever said, and this is Philip Pointer, says, no, that's not what God called us to do. Okay, wait. So God ain't called you to feed your people with fresh fruits and vegetables, but God called you to make them defenseless in a political climate that is violent towards their bodies at all times. This is the same St. Mark that when I think it was the Hunger Relief Alliance wanted to partner with them, they decided they were going to do a cereal drive to give all of the children, especially those in the neighborhood, the Black children in their Black neighborhood, the cereal that's high in fructose and the corn syrup and all of the things, all of the stuff that is harmful to us. I think they pledged $10,000 for cereal that is harmful to their Black bodies. I'm like, now this is the Black church that says, I want y'all to turn in your guns. And I said, okay, well, I know that we need gun sense laws. I know, I'm a proponent of that. I want us to have good laws around guns. But when you talk to people who are, and not just white people, when you talk to people who support the Second Amendment, they say it is our right to bear arms. It is our right to be able to defend ourselves. When we think back to the time when I talked about Fannie Lou Hamer, they could not defend themselves. You got Black men, Black women, Black children who are humiliated in the face of violence because they cannot defend themselves. And now that we are able to defend ourselves by any means necessary, you tell us as Black folks, no, turn in your guns because y'all don't know how to act with them. Well, if I'm not mistaken, the white people constantly say it ain't the people that kill, it ain't the gun that kill the people, it's the people. So what we need to change is our mentality, because Black people that are killing Black people are suffering from internalized racism. Let's deal with that. Y'all tell me what y'all think. When I tell y'all something, look, don't get me started on St. Mark. Okay, so here's Lo asking the question. What quantitative and qualitative analysis has been done concerning guns? What quantitative and qualitative analyses has been done concerning gun buybacks? What quantitative and qualitative analyses has been done concerning gun buybacks? Which is basically Lo asking the question, how do we know this is going to work? Does it work? Has anybody done any study or research on whether or not it works? That's his question. Anybody know the answer to that? I have not even I have not even considered the question. So somebody else, 501-433-0088, somebody else call in, and if you know the answer of if this is even a viable option for us to say that gun buybacks, that's what's going to clean up that's what's going to reduce the amount of violence that we have in our neighborhoods. I don't know, because I am one who believes this. This is what I believe. When you think about crime, especially in neighborhoods that we call Black neighborhoods, when I was sitting at happy hour yesterday, we were tracing back. Oh, wait a minute. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF at 8.3 FM. Thanks for calling Community Voice. Yes. Hello? Caller?
Are you there?
Yes. Caller, apparently you cannot hear me, but I can hear you. You're asking, am I here? And I'm saying yes, so I'm not really sure, but if you want to try again, feel free to do so. The phone lines are still open. Caller, you're live on the air. Community Voices, thanks for calling.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, buying back guns will not stop no kind of violence. Only true, pure knowledge and determination in a person's thinking compassion would stop that. But I would like for the audience to get their phone and look up how many white people have killed other white people on this planet. You really don't know what you're dealing with here. We dealing with a beast that don't care about who he destroys. And of course, you see all this police brutality, they are really trying to make Black people rise up and fight with God, because really we are high God. I'm gonna just be honest, I know some of these people got 27 guns in their house. And they want to do the same thing they used to do right now as we speak. Our people and the Baptist preacher, he need to get his ass out of heaven in the sky and out of hell somewhere he don't know about and start to really teaching our people the truth. I have no use in this day and time for no preacher who want to stick with the same that's like selling somebody a starting up. And people buying it and they are trusting him. Those people have a hell of a penalty to pray for what they done, whether they know it or not. They're not keeping people right. They're not done. And that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for reminding us that there's no such thing as Black on Black crime. Now there are, to Lowe's point, there's plenty of research that talks about the phenomenon of crime, the philosophy of crime, the psychology of crime and violence, and usually, and what it usually boils down to is proximity. So you got white people that kill white people, you have brown people that kill brown people, you got Asian people that kill, people kill each other. So there's no such thing as Black on Black crime. It's just another way to judge, to shame, to target, to dehumanize our community as if we have some kind of behavior that is not human behavior. We have this. We are human, and as humans, we demonstrate the same behavior that all humans demonstrate. And humans have the capacity, the ability to kill, and that's what humans do. And so so the audacity, listening to the caller, the audacity of us to declare Black folks to be more violent. To consider that our neighborhoods are more violent because we Black folks killing Black folks in the context of the human story of the way white folks kill indiscriminately, but especially as it relates to the Black body, it's just ridiculous. It's ludicrous. And I appreciate the caller for reminding us of that. And so as we were tracing back yesterday, we were tracing back we were thinking about Black unification, we were thinking about Black protection, we were thinking about all things Black, basically. And we were like, well, let's think about when we began to talk about this Black on Black crime. Like when do we remember? Just the two of us. When do we remember? I'm 53, she's 47. When do we remember? And so we traced back to the war on drugs, when drugs were intentionally intentionally dropped into Black neighborhoods. They were in by design, okay, by design. The government that is run by white folks, by the system of whiteness, by the system of white inhumanity, intentionally decided to infiltrate Black neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, with drugs. And what was the aftermath of that? Right? So you had people who were hooked on drugs. And so you've got parents who are hooked on drugs. And if you are addicted to drugs, you now you're sick and you need help. And you don't have help available to you. And so automatically your parenting skills are going to be called into question. You're not going to be able to parent when you are hooked on drugs. So now you have children who are trying to figure out how to live, how to survive as a child, which they don't have the capacity, they don't have the resources, they don't have the know-how. Like, it's just an awful situation. And so then we have turf wars coming in. So now you got the gangs showing up. You got all of this stuff happening in these neighborhoods that are now infiltrated with these drugs that the government decided was one of the ways that they could eviscerate the Black population in particular. Poor people, yes, but in particular Black folks. And so we think about, we're still suffering from, drugs decimated Black communities. It is a shame. And I get so upset, something else that the caller said, like, I cannot stand, I have no more tolerance for these preachers that are continuing to preach this same gospel that supports where we are now as I was going to say enslaved, because we still are enslaved people. Like, I can no longer support this gospel, and I question your ability to do so. Like, how is it possible for us as Black people to still be believing in this whitewashed Jesus in this sky that they created? Like, I don't get it. And so this idea that we are continuing to perpetuate this faith that tells us that we should turn the other cheek, because I feel like that's what this kind of buyback program is like. No. There's another way that we can fight our enemy. If we consider the system of whiteness to be our enemy, we don't need guns to fight them. And then we'll start quoting the scripture. What does the scripture say? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the principal. So now we want to call them principal. We do all of this stuff we turn all of these flips, we contort our faith into all of these different shapes to make it work now, instead of just saying, this does not work for us, this no longer serves us. Maybe it did at one point, but it no longer serves us now. And we've got to be willing to say, I'm not going to participate, not even in your Jesus. I don't care what you say, as long as you continue to support the faith of our youth and our childhood, I cannot support you. And what would that look like if we banded together against those preachers who are continuing to preach that gospel and say, I'm not doing it? But in the case of places like St. Mark, we can't do that, because we're not really going to St. Mark because we believe in the gospel. We're going because it's a status symbol. We like being able to say we go to this church because it's money at this church, because look at the cars that's in the parking lot. We got life twisted in our faith, and we say sometimes it's about the white man when sometimes it's about us. And we have to be able to have those conversations. Oh, and so Lo says, okay, so I was talking about the drugs that infiltrated our neighborhoods, but Lo is saying, let's not leave out alcohol. Let's not leave out alcohol. Yeah, because one of the things that's important for us to know is when we think about Black communities, and you say, yes, you can find a liquor store on basically every corner in a Black community. That's true. You can also find a church on basically every corner in the Black community. So if the church is so powerful and Jesus is so good, then why isn't the church able to push out the alcohol, the stores? If you don't want them in your neighborhood, like by the name, by the power of the Holy Spirit, like, why can't you work together to get rid of these liquor stores? Like, where is God in that? Like, I don't know. Like, because you could fight for that, could you not? And so we've got to figure out how to get to the point that when we see each other, we see ourselves. There is a principle in the Bible that says you're supposed to love God first then love your neighbor as yourself. Like these are once Jesus hit the scene in the New Testament, this became the overarching gospel, that there are only two commandments that are even worth talking about. One, love God, and B, love your neighbor like you love yourself. Like none of the rest of the stuff y'all talking about matters if you can't do these two things. So what would it take for you to see this Black person as your neighbor? You see them as yourself. So would you want yourself to be getting beat down by whatever system is in place? No, you wouldn't. And you would not, you would do something about it. You would fight for yourself. You would fight for your life. So why aren't we fighting for the lives of those who look just like us, who are experiencing the same things that we are experiencing, rather than talking about, what did Gavin Newsom say? So we're watching the things play out, the protests play out in Los Angeles, and the National Guard has been called, and there are clashes happening between the protesters and the National Guard. And the governor of California sends out a letter, and he says, of course, he has sued Trump. He has sued President Trump and his administration for calling out the National Guard without his consent. So we're going to have to watch that play out. But one of the things he says in the letters, he says, listen, this is all by design. Trump, the White House wants a spectacle. The White House wants you to play into this drama. This is theater that they are creating. They are all thespians playing these roles, and they want you to come on stage and get caught up in their acts. They want you to be in Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3. So it's basically what he's saying. So what he says is don't do it. Like, don't respond to them. Like, basically don't defend yourself is what he's saying, because he wants you to do it peacefully, like protest peacefully. Well, if I'm not mistaken, that's what was happening. They were protesting peacefully until you sent the guard, and the guard is the one who initiated the violence, just like they did with the Central High. You send the guard and they make it worse. And so you're telling the people that are being harmed to do nothing but wait for the system to work on its behalf. What system is working on behalf of these immigrants? What system is working on behalf of Black folks? If we are not working on behalf of ourselves, we shall not get free. And you telling me the way to get free, a Black person is telling a Black person in this climate, the way to get free is to give up your gun. Listen. Violence needs to be reduced across the board. We live in a violent world. We live in a violent country. It's hard for us to come up with a good gun sense law. It's hard for us to come up with good gun sense laws because we continue to be motivated by the benefits of racism. And so in order for us to keep racism in place, racism necessarily must control bodies. And in order to control bodies, you have to exert violence. When we ask ourselves, why don't we have universal health care like other countries? Because this country doesn't want Black bodies to be healthy. That's why you don't have universal health care. When we ask the question, why don't we have better educational systems? Well, it's because racism doesn't want the Black mind to be fulfilled, doesn't want the Black mind to reach the height of its potential, does not want it to know all that it can know and expand and imagine and create. That's why you don't have better education systems, because we are still in this country rooted in, you can't take away, you can't give us good gun sense laws, because we're still waiting on the day that we're going to have this civil war, another civil war, where this time white folks win, because they lost the last time and they've been complaining and moaning about it ever since. And they're not going to be satisfied until they can say, we won. And as long as that is the prevailing attitude that permeates this country, we cannot take guns out of Black people's hands, because it's a new day now. Black people have no, Black people have no desire to just walk up and just, kill white folks. That's the fear that white people have because of the history of the system of whiteness, the system of white inhumanity, all of what you've done to Black folks, to members of the African diaspora, to diasporians. Because of what you've done, the way your mind works, it only makes sense for Black people when we get the opportunity to be able to retaliate, we will. And so in your mind, you have to keep us in a place where we will not have enough power to do what you did to us, because that is your fear that's in your mind. That's not what I'm concerned about. You as white, the system of whiteness, as white people, as the system of white humanity, you are irrelevant to my life. My liberation is the only thing on my mind. Now, if I have to dismantle your systems, if I have to offend you, if I have to make you uncomfortable in the process, then that might be something that happens indirectly, but you're not my main concern. I'm not concerned about your gaze. I'm not concerned about your response. I'm concerned about what's mine. And so it's a different mindset that's at work. And so we have to figure out as Black folks how we are going to support each other as each other. Because one of the things we do not have that they did have in the 60s was the fact that we were all in the same situation. Could nobody vote? Could nobody eat at the counter? Could nobody do those things? And so we were all fighting together for the same things. Now we are divided by class. Class has become so important to us that in many cases, class is more important than race. We'll say, well, look, as long as they pay me, it don't matter. No matter what they do to your body, as long as you get paid, it doesn't matter. And so we've got to rethink what it means to look at each other and see each other as Black. Because no matter how much money you make, no matter what neighborhood you live in, no matter if you attain the highest office in the land, hasn't this country proved it to you that you still Black and that doesn't matter? So what would it take for us to support, to do? Because I'm like, Denise, if you can do all this work just to get a ticket to a play, what other work could we do to get to where we're trying to go by any means necessary, which is to collective liberation? What are we willing to do? How are we willing to divest? Because we cannot keep going in this direction, because it's not serving us. It's not going to end well, and it's not ending well now. And so in the midst of it all that we deal with every single day, I do want to return to the song, Down Home Blues. Because when you listen to the words, ZZ Hill is putting these words into a woman's mouth. And she says, listen, I came here to this space so I could let my hair down. You know, I've been running around all week long and I am tired. I've gotten to the point that I've reached exhaustion and I've had to say, I'm going to stop doing all this. I can't keep doing all this. I done stopped running around like this all week long. Because I realize that there are times when I have to stop. I have to stop and I have to center my own self. I have to focus on myself and I have to do whatever it is that I want to do to satisfy my body. Let me tell you what I'm finna do. I'm finna kick off these shoes. I'm finna rear back. I'm gonna let you fix me a drink and I'm gonna let you play me some of these down home blues, because I gotta experience me some joy right now. I know I got a man that's concerned about me. He wanna know where I am. He calling me every hour on the hour because he's looking for me. But you know what? I don't care. Because right now, it's all about me. I want to make sure that I can relax in the fullness of who I am as this Black woman in this world. I'm going to take a moment and honor myself. I'm going to take a moment and center myself. I'm going to take a moment and have a good time. I'm going to take a moment and pleasure myself. I'm going to take a moment and experience some joy, because I deserve it. All the stuff that I'm going through, all the stuff that I'm fighting, all the stuff that I'm dealing with right now, play me some of them down home blues. So as we continue to fight, as we continue to try to figure it out, take some time to find some joy wherever you can find it and experience it in your body and your mind and your soul. And you'll be able to do that if you stay right here, because your girl Lola is coming up next with 2 hours of jazz. Let it penetrate your spirit. Listen to it with your spirit and your soul and your heart and your mind, and see won't it move you. And not just move your body so that you can experience joy, but also give you an opportunity to figure out how you can move your body so we can keep the fight going, because liberation is yet on its way. It's up to us. Do your part. Thank you for joining us for Community Voices. We have been live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Jazzy Tuesdays is on the way. We're going to get started with the ladies. That's what your girl Lola does all the time. Let's get started with the ladies. And so here is Big Mama Thornton singing Hound Dog. You ain't nothing but hound dog. This system that we fight, you ain't nothing but a hound dog hunting us down by any means necessary. But we got joy in the midst of it all. We'll see y'all next time.
Girl, you done gone way back. They stole that song.